is to strengthen the deep stabilising muscles of the neck in a really controlled position. So we're going to do this one lying on the floor, and that can be on a mat or just straight on the floor. You don't want to do this one in bed, as there is too much cushion on your bed. So we're lying here, and we want to have our knees bent to take some of the pressure off the lower back while we're in this position. Now, when you're in this position, you want to bring your hand up and hook your finger and your thumb on either side of the lunge muscle and through the front of the neck. So we're going to have our arm rested on the body when we're in this position to help deactivate those muscles there. We're going to slowly slide the back of the head on the floor, bringing the chin down in a nodding motion. Now when we get to the bottom of the range here, you'll feel the activation of those superficial muscles. What we're looking for is a really slow, small movement, which is only activating the deep stabilising muscles in the neck and not the superficial ones. So you'll find the superficial muscles are overactive when the deep stabilising muscles are weak. So we're going to come back to neutral here. So feeling for that activation. Now this will be different for everybody as to how far through the range you can get before you get the activation of those muscles. So we want to work with what you can actually achieve. So we're slowly nodding down. Find where they are activating the big stabilising muscles, and then come back to neutral. And this time when you nod down, you're going to stop just before those muscles activate. And it doesn't matter if this is a minute movement, if it's really little and you're working in the correct range without activating the superficial muscles, you will become stronger and the muscle will activate and strengthen, and you'll be able to eventually move through the range with minimal activation of the superficial muscles. So it's trying to correct the muscle activation pattern in the neck. So nodding down, you're going to hold for 10 seconds when you get to that point where you haven't activated the superficial muscles. You're going to hold there, and then we're slowly going to come back to neutral. Your progression on this exercise, when you can move through the range without the activation of the superficial muscles, you get right to the end of the range, and when they activate, we want to then hold that position. But this is only once you can move through the range correctly with minimal activation of the superficial muscles. Then we want to polish off the movement, finish that movement with some activation of the superficial muscles. This is a great exercise for those who are returning to high impact sport, the likes of rugby league, but even things like soccer and football. So when we do this, we would nod down, slide the back of the head, no activation of the superficial muscles. Activate the superficial muscles to polish off the movement at the end. And then we're going to pretend the head is resting on the kitchen scales. And in this position, it's going to read around about 6 kilos. We are then going to not lift the whole head off the scales, but we want to decrease the amount of weight on the scales so that it goes from reading 6 kilos down to 5 kilos. So we're going to take a small amount of weight out of the back of the head without lifting the head off. Now when we do this, we don't want a jutting of the chin forward or a loss of the flexed position. So we're slowly moving into that full range, so nodding all the way down here. And then we're just slowly going to take some of the weight out of the back of the head without poking out the chin and without lifting off the whole head. When you take some of that pressure off, it's quite hard, and you can feel that often there is a tremor or a shaking in through the head and the neck. Slowly put the pressure back on the back of the head and then bring yourself back to neutral. You want to be able to do around about 10 of those exercises. but you need to start at the beginning, make sure you can work yourself through the steps before you get to that point. Eventually, you'll be able to take more weight out of the back of the head, and eventually the head will float off the floor without protruding the chin forward. So the head stays in that nice neutral position.